قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا، حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا، يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا، يا هلا ويا هلا ويا.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the Saturday edition of Let's Talk. It's great to be with you. Thank you for joining us. We do hope you're going to keep us company right up until 10 o'clock. Lots of interesting things coming your way this morning. And let me tell you who we'll be talking to this morning on the show. A company called Edublox. We have two representatives from the company, Susan Duplessis and Zainu Ali. We'll be spending some time with them, talking to them about learning disabilities, very specifically dyslexia. To talk to us about it is Susan. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Julie. Privileged to be here.
The honour is ours. Thank you indeed. How did this all start for you?
Well, I think it's already started in 1979 when my father developed a program. It was called Edublox at that stage. And it's been used, it was basically a program for preschool children to prepare them for school. And quite by accident, he used the program for a child with severe learning difficulty. And this child improved miraculously. The child was already on his way to a special school, but the child improved so much that the child was sent back to mainstream school. And since then, he has been working on that. I personally have started in 1988. We changed the name to Edublox. We're a reading and learning clinic where the children come for classes. But yes, we've improved the system, but that's where it all started many, many, many years ago.
So what's your dad's background?
He was a doctor in education and he also had a master's degree in philosophy.
And your background?
I have a good degree in theology. 6-year degree in theology, okay. And I also have an honours degree in psychology.
All right, so children with difficulties, learning difficulties. This program, I think, is a natural follow-on on what we've covered over the past few weeks. We spoke to Steve from Read to Rise. They're also a program targeted at children with learning difficulties. And then we also covered Deaf Awareness Day a few weeks ago. And the follow-on to that was a speech therapist who joined us on Wednesday, Anissa Essa, and she spoke about auditory perception disorder. How does that tie in with what we're talking about this morning?
Well, I think that auditory processing problems is definitely one of your causes for dyslexia. So there are many other causes, there are many other skills involved in reading, but that's definitely one of your very common reasons why children might struggle with reading. And then if the problem is quite, if the discrepancy between where the child should be and where the child is at becomes too big, then we start talking about dyslexia.
All right, so let's ask the all-important question. What is dyslexia?
Okay, the word dyslexia comes from two Greek words called dys and lexia, which means difficulty with words or language. And it's a term that is used to describe children who are bright and intelligent, so there's nothing wrong with the IQ, but they really, really struggle with reading and with spelling. And then usually there are also symptoms and signs. For example, your reversals, everybody knows about the B that becomes the D, and the was that becomes the saw. But there are many other. For example, the child might be able to sound out the words, say k, at, but then he can't blend and can't put the sounds together, and he might say cold. Or he might read the words in the wrong sequence, the wrong order. For example, left, which might become felt, or the vice versa. He might lose his place while reading. That happens quite often, that they skip lines and they just lose their place. They might read with very poor comprehension. They might remember very little of what they have read. And definitely something that you also find quite often is that they might have a poor handwriting. So the handwriting kind of matches the reading difficulty and the spelling difficulty.
You say that these children are normally very bright children. Why is it that they have this problem then?
Well, the thing is that has bothered many people involved in the research on dyslexia for very long. Why is this child? The child is intelligent, the child is bright, the child has a high IQ, the child IQ might be 140, but the reading ability is very, very, very low. So that has bothered many people for many years. And what the traditional view in any case is that this disorder or difficulty is caused by a neurological deficit. So there's something wrong inside the brain. We've got a completely different theory. Our theory is simply that the child lacks certain foundational skills. I mean, something we have to always remember is that a human being can do nothing that he has not learned to do. So that's the first thing that we have to keep in mind. And the second thing is that learning is a stratified process. In other words, you have to master one thing first before it becomes possible to master the next. And you have to master that before it becomes possible to master the next skill. You cannot teach a child miss out on something and think you will have results on the higher level skills. And that's the reason why the children are struggling with reading, is not because of the IQ. There's nothing wrong with them. It's simply because those foundational skills, cognitive skills, have not been taught. And that is what we do at Edublox. We teach the children those cognitive skills.
Break down cognitive, the word cognitive for us. Let me understand as a parent, what is it when you say that my child's having difficulty with his cognitive skills?
Well, that means that the brain skills, the skills that we need, the brain skills that we need to process and to understand the written word has not been put into place. For example, concentration. You need to be able to concentrate before you will be able to read, especially focused attention. We are now busy with the conversation. I'm not distracted by anything in the environment. And we also need sustained attention so you need to be able to concentrate for a length of time. We definitely need your perceptual skills, visual as well as auditory, because we read with our eyes, that's true, but we definitely read with our ears as well. So you need all the perceptual skills.
How do we read with our ears?
Because we're busy with sounds. I mean, both of them work together. You can't just have the one without the other one, or it becomes very difficult. I mean, you can definitely teach deaf children to read. We've done that many times. But yes, then it becomes a lot harder, and you really have to improve the visual perceptual skills to a very high level. Then we get memory. That's your third block. Memory consists of 7 skills. Your visual memory, see and remember. Auditory, hear and remember. Sequential memory, your ability to remember something in a sequence. We've got iconic memory, which is a flash memory and determines your eye span. We've got short-term memory, long-term memory, and then your engine of learning, which is called working memory, which is your ability not just to remember something, but to use it and manipulate it at the same time.
Now, all of what you're telling me now also sounds like this child possibly is suffering from ADD or ADHD. Is there a link with the dyslexic child and ADD or ADHD?
Oh, absolutely. They say that about 30 or 40% or 20% of children with ADD also have dyslexia, so there's definitely an overlap. And the overlap is definitely with the concentration, with the auditory skills. Your auditory memory is a very important concentration skill, and definitely your working memory. I mean, if you don't have a good working memory has been shown to be your #1 skill for academic achievement. So in the end, if you don't have that engine, you will suffer in terms of learning.
If the child is not helped early enough in his life, is there hope for him? Is it ever too late? If he reaches maybe his teen years or young adulthood, can this still be remedied?
Absolutely. Look, it becomes harder. I mean, the gap, if you have to close a gap of 2 years and you have to close a gap of 7 years, it's a lot harder. It's more work that you have to cover. But we're never too old to learn. I mean, even a person of 80, if he still wants to improve the quality of his life, it's not too late. I mean, human beings, it's so wonderful of us, is we're never too old to learn.
Do you have, I know that Edublox is targeted at children. Do you have a program for adults, someone who's had a very poor education and now decides at 50 that I need to enrich my life, and the only way I can do that is to learn to read and write?
Okay, the very, very good news for adults is that will soon have an Edublox online, where people of any age will be able, and they can, many of the children can't come to our centres because they are simply too far. So any person of any age will soon be able to do the classes via the internet.
Okay, Susan, that's where we leave it, but I know that your colleague Zainu Ali is going to be joining us, so she can talk to us about the different type of products you offer and the type of training you give to the little ones. Thank you so much for being with us. Our next guest is the colleague of Susan du Plessis. Her name is Zainu Ali. She's going to talk to us about the actual products from Edublox and the type of stuff that your child would be exposed to if he or she is dyslexic, assist them in getting on par with their peers in terms of reading, writing and spelling. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program, Zainu.
Wa alaikum salam, and thank you for having me here.
Lovely to have you. I understand that you were in Johannesburg for a conference, so
yes,
we were able to actually corner you and have you come into the studio. You're a colleague of Susan du Plessis, and I understand that you've worked with them for many years on this product, Edublox.
Yes.
What is it all about?
It's an absolutely fantastic program. I'm a qualified teacher, so when we were in class, we always wondered, what is it that we're not really doing to get the child to understand what they need to process? And when I started with the Edublox program, which was previously Audiblox, and Dr. Jan Stradom actually mentored me, and that was a wonderful experience. I then discovered, oh my word, it's actually how the children are processing the information, how their brain is working, how they're looking at information, listening to information, their ability to retain, interpret, perceive, recall information, and that is creating the problems that they're actually having, because they're not remembering what the teacher's doing. So if the teacher's doing a math sum of about 8 steps, visual memory, which they need to look and process, so maybe they understand the sum and are able to process visually 5 steps of the 8 steps. Then they need to listen to the instruction and the explanation of the sum. So possibly the child's auditory memory, then the child is only able to process until step 4. Now, at the end of the day, the child needs to do an example. So now the child sits there and thinks, I remember step 1 to 5, but I can't remember what teacher explained about the balance of the steps. Automatically, when the child's doing the sum, not able to complete the full method, loses marks, doesn't understand, comes home to mom. I don't understand, I can't remember what teacher said.
Okay, let's hold it. You also have something very interesting on the table here, and I think that's what you're going to be showing to the viewers. But let's take a call first. Assalamu alaikum to you and welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Who am I speaking to?
Zainab.
Zainab, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Yes. You are busy with this Edublox. I have a grandson who is ADD. He's been diagnosed with ADD, and he is like repeating grade 2. And how will Edublox help him? And does ADD, is it something, tell me, is it something that stays with him like for the rest of their life? Or is, I know from what I understand, it's incurable, right?
I think from the previous guests that we've had on the show is that with the right support and the right therapies, the child would be able to overcome his or her difficulty. So don't lose hope, sister, and I would suggest to you that keep watching our shows. We're going to be covering all of that in future shows, but I'd also suggest perhaps have your child assessed for whatever
he definitely has ADD. What I am saying does Edublox carry on like year after year, helping them, or is it something that you do just at this present time to help them further in life?
Okay, thank you for your call, and you certainly stand in line to win one of our prizes this morning. But will you listen off air to our guest Zainu Ali? She'll explain everything to us. Thank you indeed for your call. Zainu.
Yes.
How do you respond to our viewer?
Okay. Most of our clients who come to the Edublox clinic come with a diagnosis of ADD or ADHD. As Susan may have mentioned, we don't diagnose the child because we don't label the children, because what we are doing is helping them to overcome their inabilities and enable them.
But you do expect mom to come along with a diagnosis of sorts from a
no,
educational
that's
psychologist?
what our assessment does. So we determine what's causing the foundational learning skills difficulties, which is we test the cognitive memory, which is all the different types of memory that Susan has explained, and then we also test the reading and the spelling ability. And then from there, because our program is specifically designed to work with these foundational learning skills, which Susan has done, she's a Director of Education at Edublox, we then work with the child and to make recommendations. So the ADD, that's the concentration problem, and we're working with all those skills because when we are actually teaching, we're improving memory and concentration second by second, because the brain is like a muscle. You need to get it fit. So with the children, we always explain to them, if you're doing a sport, you cannot just go and play soccer and make the team. You need to be fit. So you need to practice. You need to strengthen your muscles. You need to be healthy. You need to be able to run up and down that soccer field. So if you're not fit, so we getting the brain to become fit, to get the neurons to make the connections, and because we're doing that, we're improving memory, we're improving concentration ability second by second. So kids who haven't been able to concentrate because of the type of exercises that we do, which have been scientifically researched, and we've achieved over 30 years of success. We guarantee 95% success with the children with these skills. We are able to help the child overcome that and improve concentration, depending on the child, depending on the situation, depending on the backlog. And like Susanna said, if it's a 7-year backlog, it's going to take longer, but you know, we need to sabr and we need to have patience. We cannot expect the child to overcome a learning difficulty in 3 months and expect, oh, but the child still hasn't improved. When the child came to us in grade 3, is now in grade 5. We need to still catch up with that.
Just a short answer for the benefit of our caller, and I think the crux of the matter there was, will the child have to be on the Edublox program for perhaps the rest of his life? Or with the intervention by Edublox or with Edublox, can you safely say in 3 years' time, or once we've closed that gap, your child will be okay?
We normally recommend, depending on the assessment, once again, a minimum of 2 years at the clinic to close the major gaps, all right? Thereafter, we would recommend programs like holiday intensive programs, or these different programs at Edublox. We have a study blocks program. Everything is connected with cognitive training. So we don't just do the study blocks, the study methods. We work with the skills as well that they actually need to retain long-term memory, improve their working memory, their logical thinking ability, so that when they are writing the exam, all these skills will actually kick in and help them do the exam. So basically 2 years, depending on the child.
Assalamu alaikum to our next caller, and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam. My grandson is using, my name is Farida and I'm calling from Cape Town.
Welcome, welcome.
Yes, my grandson is using Edublox. I think it's very good, and I think it's really helping him to concentrate. And also, I know that if you help the child, you're also helping the adult, because that child will become an adult one day. And once you give therapy and you help him now, then you become a much better adult and will be able to concentrate and succeed in his lifestyle.
Absolutely. Farida, shukran very much for that very positive comment. Please leave your details with the producers. You certainly stand in line to win one of our lovely giveaways this morning. Shukran indeed for your call.
Shukran. I really am passionate about this topic.
Thank you indeed. Back to you, Zainu. We don't have too much time left. I think about 5 minutes before the end of this segment. So I see you've also got what looks like some sort of a game, interesting, very colourful.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to us about that? And also, how many games or educational support systems do you have in your arsenal at Edublox?
Okay, we have about 49 different exercises, and then we also have home programs, which one is the
When you say exercises, does it
that
mean
we actually tutor in the clinic. So
right, it's not 49 different pieces of apparatus, for example?
No. It's actual skills and exercises. I'll give you a quick example now of one. And then we, of course, have the different home programs, the EduBrain Reading Program and Toolkit, and then also the copy blocks, and as Susan mentioned, the online is in the process of being done. And then we have different holiday programs or during term, which is the study blocks, the language courses, and the maths blocks, all dealing with giving the child the foundational learning skills to achieve academic success.
If the child doesn't have a problem at all, let's assume my child is of average intelligence or perhaps even above average, would you recommend that I still get all of the stuff for him or her and give them a head start in life?
Yes, absolutely, because it's like a computer. For example, if the child is in grade 5, I sometimes explain to the kids, because that's the quickest way they understand. I tell them, okay, you're in grade 5 now, so teacher expects you to download 5 gigs of information. But now your memory can only retain 3 gigs. So what's happened to the rest of the information? And that's what we're doing here. We're improving your memory capacity, your concentration capacity, so that you are able to process, interpret, and recall all the information you're supposed to learn, and obviously beyond that. So children who are not struggling, even my kids, they have to do it. Because it helps improve their memory. And even if you have an A+ student, you're always learning. You have to still go to high school, you need to go to varsity, so you need more memory capacity, and that's what we're doing, improving memory, so it's there for anyone and everyone to use. So it will only facilitate and speed up your processing and long-term memory and ease your life for you.
Okay, unfortunately, I know you've brought along a video clip, but we're not going to be able to play that out because of time issues. But let's check what you have here very quickly before we wrap up on this part of the segment.
Okay, this is just a quick pattern exercise, which I'll play with the viewers out there. So I'm going to show you a pattern of 2 blocks for 2 seconds only. The reason for this visual memory pattern exercise is because when we are writing or reading, every letter is a shape or a form. So whether it's English or Arabic, we need to be able to process and remember that's in Arabic alif ba ta or ABC, and it's all different shapes. So the pattern exercise is basically to improve, obviously, your concentration, your memory, as well as your memory of shapes, so that when you are reading, you are able to string certain sequence of letters together to make up a word. All right.
Okay.
And that's why children struggle to read, and even for writing purposes. So even you can try it. Ready? So I'm going to show you the pattern exercise, 2 blocks for 2 seconds. Try and remember it, and I'll show it to you again. And the kids normally work, and they actually use the blocks to bold the pattern for us, and then we check our work and correct our mistakes again. Okay. So are you ready?
We're ready.
2 blocks, 2 seconds. Ready? Focus. Okay, and then we'll tell the children bold, and they will bold. Once they're done, we'll show it to them again. Right, check your work, correct your mistakes. If it's correct, we usually select the child who is correct. We don't verbally say, we just monitor visually. And then we challenge the child, because now we need to improve concentration and memory, and we're doing it second by second. So then we're going to go to the next one, and we're going to say, okay, now 3 blocks, 3 seconds. Are you ready? Focus. Bold. And the child needs to bold it. So there we're busy improving concentration and memory. And then we'll show it to them again. check your work, correct your mistakes. Excellent, well done.
So this is improving memory.
This is improving
and how and when do we
memory
get onto the reading and spelling?
Well, we need to do the cognitive first, so we do 1 hour brain training, different exercises, visual memory, auditory memory, logical thinking, checking how the child is actually perceiving, interpreting, recalling what they have seen. Now, and then we focus on half an hour reading, because we're now building up the skills and getting the brain to make the connection, so that when we're actually drilling the reading, and we start from the abacus, the phonics, basics, depending on where the child needs to stop. So then we focus on half an hour reading, word searches, vocabulary improvement and enhancement, depending on also abilities. They also do some comprehensions, etc.
And I presume this is all age appropriate. So
Yes.
where and how does one get in touch with you? And would this be one-on-one tuition, or do you have kids in a specific clinic? How does it work?
Kids come to the clinic. We do have one-on-one tuition for the children who are really severe, and within 10 days we need to at least get them to read. So we would recommend the one-on-one intensive, where the tutor works with a child one-on-one. Then we also have group classes. It's 8 children per group. And they work on with us, as well as do some computer-based exercises to develop independent work, and motivate themselves to achieve without the teacher or the tutor constantly monitoring them. We have clinics throughout the country, as well as in Namibia, and we have one that opened last year in Dubai. So they're welcome to visit our website, which is www.edubloxsa.co.za. They'll get all the information about all the clinics, but I'm in Cape Town, the mother city, in Claremont.
Thank you indeed, and time for us to wrap up on this segment of the show. Thank you so much for being with us. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Don't forget to call in and claim one of your prizes today. Still to come in the program, we're going to talk occupational therapy, and then we're also going to talk common colds, flus, and the cures to all of that. Stay with us till 10.